Hello and welcome back to the channel. So in this one we're building a Heinkel HE112 which is from LF Models in 1/48 scale, and they kindly sent me this model to build. I've done a review on the channel and this now is the build for that model. So we start off just looking at the panel lines. So bear in mind this is a short run kit. I've looked at the panel lines and I thought we could probably try and crisp them up a little bit. They looked a bit like Airfix of a certain time, where they're a little bit soft. So I'm just running along them with the trumpeter scriber to give a bit more definition. And that's really just tracing along the lines as they are. And I was a lot happier with them once I'd done that. And now you can see what the finished result looks like on the wing as I've gone over it, compared to the one before. It's obviously showing because I've primed it, so it will show up a bit better because I put some grey paint on it, but nevertheless. So we've got these cowling parts that go on, and this is a lot of Heinkel 112 models are done like this. That's because there's two different exhaust types, so that's just gone in. We'll come back to that a bit later where I try and blend that in a little bit. Again, showing some of the short run tendencies, that where the parts are joining up is a little bit gappy because it's not ultra flat on the inside, and because they're solid parts, it just takes a bit of filing down just to make sure everything joins flush. But it's part of the job with short run kits. I mean, who else is going to make a Heinkel 112 as a plastic injection molded kit? The last one we had was by Classic Airframes, and I think that came out in, well, I wouldn't like to guess, in the 90s. I've had a little bit of sidewall detail there just from what I could find on the internet, just from the spares box, just because I felt like it really. You can't see too much in the cockpit once it's done. I did know that going into it. I just felt like I wanted to add a bit of wiring, so I did and jazzed it up. But you can see the grey parts of what you get with the kit. Here's the chair. Obviously, if you wanted to improve that, you could fin it a little bit. The kit doesn't come with belts, so I'm using these cheap AML photo etch belts just for Luftwaffe aircraft. And there you can see you've got to paint them yourself, which is a novelty these days. And we've got the control column in now, and you can see there's all starting to come together a little bit. Got a little side console there, which is black, which is, I think, like the oxygen tank. And you can see the side walls where I've tried to add a little bit of detail, painted the wiring in black and yellow, a few knobs here, there and there in red, bit of wiring picked out, and it just helps sell the idea. There you can see that cowling panel where I've sanded it in. We've just got to join there at the back end of it as you get more into the fuselage, and I do try and blend that out just a little bit. We've got exhausts to be put in from the inside as well. As part of this package, I got sent the 3D printed parts that they do as an upgrade. So that's got exhausts, oleos and gun barrels, as well as a tail wheel fitting. Here's the instrument panel. So I've just sprayed that up in RLM 66, and I'm going to use parts from a rather rarish, not now because it's out, it's been re-released, but a rarish transfer decal sheet there from the Tamiya Dornier, which is left over. I didn't use it in the build and I made the kit, so I just cut these little dials out. It's just a way of getting them, and I put them on, which is rather tricky. And once they're all lined up, they start to look the part. Hopefully you can see there as it goes out of focus a little bit. And that's the finished result. As it's all sunk down with setting solution, it sells again the idea of an instrument panel. It's quite far deep in the fuselage, so you can't see very much of it. And here we're just trying to blend in that cowling panel again. So this is Mr. Surfacer I've put on there, probably 500, quite a thick one. I'm just going over with a cotton bud, dipped in cellulose thinners just to rub that back. will hopefully just leave a less of a panel line, not a great big gap. It just runs in there and smooths off quite nicely. And just rub back and forth is a good way of filling certain areas. You see now it's quite a good join. Reasonably happy with that. That's what I was going for. I've done the same again on the wheels. Now I did all of this. I painted these wheels. I then had a little break on the build, lost the wheels, finished the build for this video, and what happened? I opened a pot and there was the wheels. So I used some wheels to finish this build from a Edward kit, but these are the wheels you get in the kit. Very nice they are indeed. There's just a little seam line at the back, which again I went down this route of filling to get around that, just to feel a bit of a join around the centre. It's barely noticeable, and you've got nice writing along the side walls of the tyres. So now it's time for washes. I'm just using this brown wash for German dark yellow, which is meant for tanks from ammo, but it works perfectly fine here. No one told this plane that it isn't meant to work. And there it is now, it's dried off, just sort of stained it. So now we're going to put on the exhaust. So this is the part that we want, and you can see those sort of fingers that are holding it. Oh, what are they? I can't remember now. Anyway, they're things you can put on the print to get it to form right. They do have a name and it's totally gone. But there you go. It's quite a nice piece. You can see you never get that finesse by drilling it out. And that's what you get from 3D printed parts. There is a slight cutaway, so they're sided. So this one is obviously that kind of channel there, which is for the machine gun. There's a cutout in it, so it fits correctly. So they are sided if you want to use those. Print support. God, there we are. And there you can see the exhaust as it sticks through, and it's quite a prominent part. That's for this type. No doubt they'll release a Romanian type, which has a more... they have released a Romanian type, which has got a different type of exhaust, more like a 109 stacked exhausts. Fuselage now getting ready to come together, and we can push the cockpit up from the inside. So I am going to get this glued together so we don't get any debris, and then we will join this on afterwards. And the wing goes on top of this, or this goes on top of the wing, and it all joins together from there. And this is a test fit with the wing. And now we're putting the upper parts of the wing on. And that's a good join. It's a good join both sides. One, as usual, one side's a little bit gappier than the other. If you line up the wing tips, you get a problem at the wing root. So what I chose to do is got the wing root sorted and then sanded the wing tips around. It's much of a muchness. It doesn't really make much of a difference. You can see there's a bit of an overlap there. So I made sure the wing root was right, the trailing edge was right, and then I sanded the leading edge into that. Like I said, there was a bit of a gap in this build, and that was at this point. So we do jump ahead a little bit, and I've got a little bit of audio from the bench for that. So we'll switch to that now. Okay, so we interrupt the usual broadcasting for something a little bit different here. So the last scene you've just watched is where we were last at with the Heinkel. So a couple of things have happened between that moment and now, namely quite a bit of time. So I hit a bit of a point where I knew there was a problem coming down the line that I needed to get over for my own choices that I wanted to do, and that revolved around the decals, which we've got a couple of here that come in the kit, and we get working in a postage stamp again, which I often do. I start with a great big desk and work my way down to a tiny little square. So there we are. So this sort of tells its own story. This is the sheet that's been cut about. I must apologise, I've got working man's hands at the minute, I'm afraid, so I'm sure we can get over it, but I work with the soil, so there's a little bit If I've got black fingernails and bits on my fingers, I am sorry if that is a problem for some of you. So here we are. We've got the decal sheet. Now you can just see, I didn't want to dwell on this. I've spoken to the chap, or I've mentioned it, haven't had a reply, and who sent me the kit, who is the man at LF Models. And I was just a little bit worried about the decals. You might be able to see there in the red. We're not using the red, but it's a good example. You just see how it's a bit of a kind of, you can see the printing, you can see it there. It's a little bit thin, and as I went on through it, some of the decals were a little bit thin, which meant that they let the colour through. Now it's not actually so much of a problem with the black, but you can see the white, the backing paper's blue here, this is white, and it's just a little bit, it's not like if we take something which I have in fact used, if we compare it to, oh, better not show the swastikas, if we compare it to here and the black and the white, you can see there's a lot more definition. It's a lot stronger, and what these have got is a white backing, so when you peel this off, it's white on the reverse side, and that gives some opacity to the decal. Now, I knew this would be an issue, and it's not a problem for a lot of people. Don't get me wrong, I've used half the decal sheet, so we'll get to the model in a minute, but I've used the, I know this about LF Models anyway, and Cora decals, it's all the sort of same stuff. So I've used the prop insignia there, which is absolutely fine. I've used a few other bits. This is actually from the kit as well. These crosses, after I tried to paint them myself and failed. Now you can see, because it's on a white backing, obviously black is going to win time and time again. So it's not an issue. So it's fine how you want to use it. But if we actually get to the model, which has skipped ahead a few stages, I'm afraid, I was starting to get some issues. So you should probably see this is more of like a matte decal and this is shinier. So I've used a mix of decals across this. The 5 and the 5.9 is actually from the kit decals, because remarkably, I will give them their dues, LF Models, this is all absolutely correct from a historically correct point of view. I've used a sheet, which I've had a sheet, sorry, hang on, where are we? Again, I'm all over the place. So I've managed to get a sheet out of my classic airframes kit, which I don't think is got much value in it anymore, so I didn't worry. So you can see the difference here. Going off on a tangent, bear with me. There you can see the difference in the print quality. But I will give them their dues. This is more accurate. This is wrong. And actually, the font is wrong as well. So this is the classic airframe sheet. The font is wrong. The font on the LF Models is actually correct. I know it's close, but it's not quite right. These 5s here are a little bit out. And this is how they look. They've got more of a oval shape rather than this sort of square shape. So, you know, that's good. So what I've ended up doing is using, what did I use? This symbol here, which is on the tail of the Heinkels, I used from the classic airframes kit here and here. These were the crosses for the tail. There we go. These were the crosses for the tail, which actually weren't right from classic airframes. This is the red rounders is from a post-war, like a 1942 scheme. They repainted, so that's what those bands are from. And I actually used the bands from the LF Models sheet, as I mentioned, which was very good. These roundels were from the print scale sheet, which is this one, and they were too big. And actually, I had the right size. These are different sizes, so I didn't use them. I tried using one of the roundels from an Airfix kit. Didn't like them at all. They weren't very nice. They just didn't do anything. They're like crisp, sort of like Rizzler paper. They just don't do anything. I knew that anyway because I've done one with that. This is the ones from the kit. So I ended up using, didn't want to open it, then realised it didn't actually matter. So I used the roundels from this HAD sheet, which I've actually had for a few years now, which is for the Messerschmitts. So this is for Troutloft and Troutloft V4 and the V3. Where is it? Hang on, there. So these are a couple I've wanted to do for a long time. And actually what's left in the kit, the smaller roundels, is actually correct for Troutlofts, V4, the V3, and one of the other schemes, which is all the ones I wanted to do anyway. So all in all, not a problem. And you can see here, they were this size. So this is the size that I've used, and these are the smaller ones. So they worked out really well, and they went on lovely, although they were a little bit brittle. So as trying to move them, they did tear, but they went down really nice. The LF Models decals were very robust, and they've gone down all right, as you can see. They're just a little bit see-through. Print scale, never had a good time with print scale actually. I bought all these sheets and then found that I didn't like them, but I think I just had an odd sheet because this one's gone down fine. That's those big roundels there from print scale with the fascise, something like that, which is this symbol here. And there we are. This is LF Models as well. So this is I don't know what this gauge is for, but it was on there. And then from Tamiya I've used a couple of marks I could see just in as I was going around like that. So that's the first bit. Then we get to the undercarriage, and that went in okay. I wasn't ever going to film this because it wasn't fiddly, but I was getting in the way of myself. I would never been able to do it well on camera. So what you basically get is this one piece that fits back there. There's a hole back there and a squared off hole here, and it slots in and it goes up quite straight. And then you've got this piece which pushes it in line, and there you go, they're pretty much bang on. I added this. I didn't like the shape there, and you can see it's a bit squiffy because it's come loose, but that's just a bit of plastic card put in there just to resemble what the grille looks like a little bit. And then we've got the gear doors on. These are, you're told in the instructions to have hanging down. In photos I've seen it both ways, so I decided just to glue them up because I can see I was going to knock them off. And there we are. Yeah, so it's all painted up and it's ready just to go into, it's ready to be matted down. And there we are with the 2-blade prop on. So quite the thing. Oh, whoops. Now, what do we have to come? I've got 3D printed gun barrels there, which came with the kit. These are LF model accessories, and you can see hollowed out, so they're ready to go. I've got the tail wheel, actual tail wheel, which I'm going to paint just straight up. I'm using Edgeward wheels because I can't for the life of me find the wheels that you've just seen me make in this video. I got no idea what I did with them, don't know where they've gone, but anyway, I found these, so I'm just going to spray them up and get them on. They fit fine. Canopy, we're going to unmask on camera, as you can see. There we are. And bring it all together. So it's just going to be a panel line wash. Now I've got past the slight problem that I've had. I was going to cut my own masks and I didn't want to. That's what made it. I was just procrastinated basically. So we're going to get this now hit with a clear coat. I'm going to try matte straight over it to see if there's any issues and see if that hides a multitude of sins. If not, I'll probably gloss over and try and fix a few problems with any decals if there's any silvering, and then matte back over that. And then we'll pick this back up once all that's done, and we're getting onto the weathering and finishing the build. So now we're into the weathering, so everything's been matted down. We're just going to put on the next parts now, which are the canopy. I used the masks that were provided by LF Models, so they do a mask set as well. They're like the vinyl type, so you've just got to be careful on complex curves. They don't stick massively well, but then none of them do, you know, Montex masks or anything like that. That's it now, all put together. Like I said, I am skipping through it a little bit, but it's because it was difficult to film getting the canopy on, and I basically just used Rocket PVA glue. This is all everything on now, how I want it to look, and I'm just going to do... I'm going to bring it to a base from this point, which I've done off camera. You can see the decals have worked pretty well. I'm reasonably happy with it. Overall, as a model, it looks very much like a Heinkel HE112. It certainly looks the part. It's chunky. It's got that kind of sleekness to it at the same time. When you catch it at an angle, you'll see when it goes on the base. This again was just painted flat earth from Tamiya. I just went over it with 3 different pigment powders, and the actual base pops out of the frame, so it's very easy just to spray the frame black. No problem whatsoever. A few tufts as well, will just, you just peel them off and glue them on. These are the 3 pigments: so Europe Earth, Dark Earth, and Airfield Dust. Just mixed on, just put on in different dabs, kind of scrubbed into the straight matte paint, and that gave a really nice effect. And it's a way of doing simple kind of desert bases. A lot of these Spanish Civil War aircraft operated off of desert places. Desert airfields. Much like the RAF and Luftwaffe from fields in France and Great Britain, these were in the desert of Spain. So there we are. This is now bringing this build to an end. Just used a panel line wash just to do a little bit of weathering. An MRP exhaust soot, which is my go-to, which has got that exhaust stain, which is characteristic. Looks a bit heavy, but if you look at photos from Spanish Heinkels, that's what they're showing. So that's what I've copied. You can see there's a little bit of trouble around that roundel on the side we're looking at there, but all in all, very happy with it. It's a nice model, so thanks to LF Models for supplying the kit. I will leave a link in the description below where you can find the kit. It's now available on Hanant. It's also available direct from them. I'll leave you now with some photos. As always, thanks for watching. This is us now coming back to doing videos, hopefully on a monthly basis. Had a little break now, and I've got builds coming down the line. So let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you've been interested in this kit or you're thinking of buying this kit. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.